Hello again, it's Hamzah Hussain here from DURA, Dundee University Review of the Arts. I'm one of the MLIT students at the Writing, Practice and Study programme. And we've got another interview here for you. This is Nathan Connelly from Dead Ink. Nathan, thank you for joining us.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good, thanks.
And how did you find the festival today? What was one of the things that kind of, as an independent publisher, that you got kind of the most out of?
I've enjoyed myself. It was I got to meet a few people who I've only spoke to online before, so it's good to finally meet face to face today.
Put faces to names
Yeah.
and things. And just for people who don't know, I'll be watching this later on Facebook and things. Can you tell us a little bit about Dead Ink, how it all started?
Yeah, Dead Ink is we're an independent press. We're based in Liverpool. We're a member of the Northern Fiction Alliance. We publish literary fiction and crossover fiction mostly. Mostly from emerging authors. We originally started around about 2011, and we were kind of set up. It's a company that evolved from things that I and some of my friends were doing in our spare time. A lot of us were working jobs, not kind of pursuing what we wanted to pursue, and we were starting to do projects in our spare time, which were just putting things together and doing things under our own steam. And there's a kind of Dead Ink is one of the things that evolves from that.
Mm-hmm. And so, what sort of writing is it that you look for with Dead Ink? Is there a certain kind of genre or something that you kind of gravitate towards, or what?
We are mainly publish what is broadly termed literary fiction. It's not a very useful term, I don't find. Increasingly publishing more kind of literary crossover fiction, so sort of genre works which do things a bit different than might be expected.
It's okay.
We've also done some non-fiction, and we've started working with a kind of tailored list around horror, which is called the Eden Book Society, which is a little bit different to other genre lists. I try to make sure that there's quite a lot of variety in what we publish. I don't want there to be a single Dead Ink voice, but hopefully everything that we do publish pushes that boundary a little bit somewhere, or has a point to make.
And so, with the acquisition of your authors, is that primarily through agents or is it unsolicited scripts?
With our current list that we're publishing this year and next, it is about 50-50 between the two. We always try and make sure that we have open submissions. If they're not open at a particular time, that we have a period when they will be open. That's because we always want there to be a connection direct from a new author to us. But at the same time, we are getting increasingly more submissions from agents and commissioning more from agents, which I think is just a byproduct of us growing.
Mm-hmm. And so I understand that there's 3 people working at the moment at Dead Ink. So can you tell me a little bit about the responsibilities that I imagine are quite evenly spread out more than someone has to do a lot more than one thing?
Yeah, so I'm the director. I run Dead Ink, and I manage most of the editorial and kind of act as the, similar to how it might happen in a bigger publishing house, but I act as the kind of pin that runs through everything and keeps it together. Amelia, who does a lot of she does sort of more operations stuff, but she also does production. So she will be doing finance, but she will also be putting together files for us, putting together covers, and sort of helping in the visuals that you see come from Dead Ink. And she's also much more around the specifics of scheduling, whereas I might have to be kind of have a bit more of an overview of things. We also have Jordan, who does a lot of, who books our events and our kind of live interactions with people, and kind of is there to, his main focus is bridging that gap between reader and author and how we bring those two together. and kind of as part of that developing relationships with the bookshops around the country, whether that's Waterstones or whether that's an independent.
Earlier you mentioned the Northern Alliance. Could you, for people who don't know, explain a little bit about what that is and which publishing houses are kind of involved with that?
Yeah, I probably won't be able to remember everyone who's involved in the Northern Alliance because it's been growing quite a lot. But it was originally set up around an Arts Council grant, but it's since grown beyond that. But it's publishers of fiction. We're looking to expand beyond fiction, but at the moment it is fiction. Publishers who are based in the north and are working in some way or other collaboratively or in partnership. And the idea is to give us I suppose, just a voice we can speak with to act on behalf of all of us. And it's been very useful in raising issues of how kind of geography and regions are reflected in publishing. And I think it's done a great deal to raise that issue over the past couple of years, and it's also helped us build greater bonds with the industry as a whole. For instance, we've all recently joined the Publishers Association as part of the Northern Fiction Alliance, so it's kind of just a collective voice for us.
And what do you think are some of the benefits of an author going to, say, a small press like Dead Ink as opposed to one of the larger corporate houses?
I don't think there's a benefit in going with an independent over a larger publishing house, in the same way I don't think there's a difference between being published and being self-published in terms of one being better. It's about what you want. We will ask different demands of our authors than a sort of a larger publishing house would, the same way you would be asking more demands of yourself if you were self-publishing. It's a different setup, and you might get more, perhaps a closer relationship with the whole business with us. You'll be asked to do a lot more than you probably would if you were with a big publishing house, and be a lot more hands-on. And really just depends what you want out of that relationship, and whether you think you're someone who can work in that kind of relationship, or if you want to move to either side of that spectrum. But we ask our authors to be quite hands-on. We can't let our authors kind of, send us the book and then sit back. Not that there's probably many publishers who can do that, but everyone is kind of, it's very much a very intimate team effort that goes on.
And what are some of the titles that you've got coming out that you'd like people to know about for 2019?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this year's list. We're in May launching Karen Haviland's, please, sorry, my mouth is going. Please read this leaflet carefully.
It's been a long day.
Yeah. So please read this leaflet carefully, which is a novel. It is fiction, but based semi-autobiographical, about, it's told backwards about how one builds a life around the diagnosis of a chronic condition such as endometriosis. And it's very much inspired by her own life. It's told beautifully. It comes with a quote from Paul Beatty. It's just an absolute work of art. It manages to be so intimate, but also write something which anyone can understand. Endometriosis is a condition which gets ignored quite a lot, and I'm very excited about how this can make, can hopefully bring some of the issues related to it to the forefront. And she does so without ever. It's always just a complete masterwork. Then we have Lucian McKnight Hardy's Water Shall Refuse Them, which feels like Shirley Jackson is back, really. It's a sort of suspense, lots of themes of folk horror and ideas of witchcraft. There's nothing supernatural in the book, but it's this coming of age story set during the heat wave of 1976. And it's just this brilliant atmospheric summer suspense novel, like the heat drips off every page. And we're releasing it in the summer.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to be able to do that. And then finally we'll be publishing Lee Rourke's Glitch, which is, I'm going to get this wrong now, I think it's his third novel. And he was with a big publisher and has since come to us after we worked. He contributed to our anthology, Know Your Place. And we come from a similar backgrounds, both from Manchester. And we just got on really well, and it's great to be able to have built that relationship from him contributing an essay to that book. And I think we very much see eye to eye on a lot of different issues. And his book is, Glitch, it's very much about how we draw meaning and come to define ourselves from the glitches in our lives and the things that go wrong in our lives, and that's where we define ourselves by what's broken. And it's a novel which, because it's from Lee, has experimental elements to it, but it's just driven by a very kind of accessible emotion. So yeah, there are our novels that we have coming out this year. We're really excited.
And finally, just to wrap things up here, what advice would you give to anyone who's looking to maybe start their own local press?
I think if you are starting your own press, to just enjoy what you can learn from it. It's very unlikely that you're going to pick up a book, publish it, and you're off to great business success straight away. Take it on as a passion, and be looking to make friends through it, just through the people you have to interact with and collaborate with, and know that it's a huge industry with a lot of ways. There's a lot of opportunity out there for ways that things can work differently or can be tweaked. There's a lot of great ideas and passion, and just look at what you can learn from the entire process. And I think if you do that, if you kind of remain open to possibility with it and look to enjoy it, you can probably start doing things which you can be proud of, and if you can be proud of it, other people will hopefully want to be involved in it.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thanks.